Back at it. I got my guy Lucas side by side with me again. He's been gone for a couple of weeks, and we are blessed today to have Sam Briggs. A lot to say about her. A lot of things have already been said. I don't know that I'll do as good of a job, but I'm going to give it a shot. Also, a servant, firefighter, saving people's lives, but also getting cats out of the trees. If you watch Rescue 911, there's probably a lot of that in between. But CrossFit Games athlete, CrossFit Games winner, just won it outright, but also won in the age group and healthy and strong with a huge engine for a long, long time. Played a lot of different sports when I get into a lot of different things. Shout out right off the bat, 𝗵𝗻, one of my good friends, runs Mahan Strength down in Cincinnati area. She was on podcast number 44, trained at my gym for a number of years. Really do miss her. One of my athletes, Sarah Wright, went down to her competition for the donor games and had a great time. And Sarah told me that she was down there, and Sam was also one of the heats. I was messaging her immediately, try to meet her, see if she's willing to sacrifice some time and be on our show. And she must have caught her in a weak moment where she said yes. So shout out Mimi, shout out Sarah, and Sam. Thanks so much for being on the show. Welcome to it.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
So, international athlete, hails from England. And so, right off the bat, question number one, if you could win either at soccer or football, win the whole thing, win the title, or win in women's rugby, we can only pick one. Which one's it going to be?
Ooh, I played. Sorry, my dog was just going to escape. I played soccer longer, but at the time there wasn't as much for women's rugby. I actually enjoyed playing rugby more, so I'd probably have to go for the women's rugby.
So, was it the 15s or the 7s that you played?
I played the 13s league.
13s.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what number were you
I didn't play a specific number. I was on the wing.
on the wing? So, unlike, a lot of other American sports, in rugby, the numbers actually have meaning. Like on the men's side, the first nine are the props, the big guys, except for the hooker number two. And the rest of the numbers they're much faster. So, it looked like growing up, a lot of different sports, but I wrote down you got kicked off the ballet at a
Yeah.
young age. Is that right?
It wasn't that I got kicked off. My mum wanted me to try a lot of different sports and stuff growing up. And so one of the things that she wanted me to do was ballet and dance. So I did ballet and tap. It wasn't like my true passion, let's just say that. But she was like, Doug, let's keep going, like work at it. And I had my first dance recital, and I must have looked so bad because after the dance recital, she was like, okay, we don't need to go back.
So you gave it a shot. Wasn't quite
Yeah.
your vibe. And then I wrote down you were playing more on the boys' sports teams.
Yeah. So at school, especially primary school, like your elementary school kind of thing, there wasn't as much kind of like designated girls like sports teams. It wasn't until I got into high school that there was more of the like specialty girls teams. So wanting to play soccer and rugby, and I was like, okay, I'll just join the boys team.
Nice. So have you always been more on the physical side with the endurance athlete, perspective? I saw you were in doing a number of different events in track, soccer, and rugby. A lot of change of direction. Would you say that's what you're more geared towards or built for at an earlier age?
At a young age, I just enjoyed doing a lot of things. I enjoyed, so I had a brother, all my cousins were boys. My grandparents were teachers, so I spent a lot of the summer holidays with my grandparents, and the children at the farm opposite my grandparents were both boys. So I was used to just kicking a soccer ball around with them, riding dirt bikes, mountain biking. So I was always just kind of active. Um, but I think like genetically, I'm geared more towards endurance. My legs definitely favor the slow twitch muscles as opposed to the fast twitch. So the strength training and the power side of things was something that I always had to kind of work at, whereas the engine came a lot easier to me.
You said the engine. Most people say that's your nickname. You have a book called Start Your Engines. I checked that out. And so does that stem more from your cardio engine or the fact that you work with the fire engines, or is it both?
So I think it was a little play on both. So from a young age, I used to do like cross country running and ride mountain bikes, and I veered towards more of the longer distance naturally because that was kind of what I was excelled more at. Whereas I enjoyed sprinting, but I could never be as fast as the other people. Whereas if I ran the cross country race, I was like, oh, I feel like I can actually be with a shot of medaling here.
So the longer the distance, the more it, in my mind, or how I characterize it to our athletes, it's a lot more suffering. And how well do you endure? Because you have to hold a fast threshold, not the fastest like the sprinters, but you have to hold that threshold for a long time. So it's a lot of it becomes down to, willingness to be in pain. What do you think about that?
I agree. I don't necessarily think that me winning the games that I was the most talented athlete. I was just the athlete willing to suffer the most.
Mm, yes. We witness a lot of that, and over the years, have some ups and downs, at least from afar, because I just met you. But when you have like an injury, most people say that's a little bit of a setback, right? And would have like any athlete that competes at a high level, it's not whether, but when will injuries occur. But it's the ability to learn, adapt, evolve, and come back, and sometimes, stronger or better. And a lot of times I would say that mental side is one long endurance run. What I tell folks is that I would characterize injury as a gift. And most people don't look at it like that. But for one, it's a way for me and athletes to get our mind wrapped around that setback and reframe it. But usually there's a way to learn and adapt and, hey, why am I getting hurt, or what's missing? Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I wanted to ask you about the recovery component when you have injuries, coming back, and how you're able to evolve and adapt.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree with you more there. Obviously, injuries at the time as an athlete, you can't think of anything worse. But um, in 2011, I came fourth at the games. 12, uh, I was gunning and pushing for the podium. Never like just like to win it. I didn't know if winning was in reach, but I was like, okay, I was only one place off the podium. So I felt like the podium was in reach. And that's when I broke my patella. And at the time, I was like devastated. I was 30 at the time. So in my mind, this was like career ending injury. I'm 30. Nobody can podium at the games over 30. I don't know why in my mind the difference of 30 and 31, but it was like in my mind, oh, this is the end. But instead, that time allowed me to work with my coach, and I came back in the 2013 season a completely different athlete. And then it was gunning to win the games. It wasn't just let's see if we can sneak on the podium. It was let's go and win the games.
Who was your coach?
I worked with, and I still work with a guy called 𝗟𝗶𝗹𝗀 from the UK. At the time in the early days, so from 2011 onwards, I worked with him as a movement coach. He was like a functional movement guru in the UK. I stopped working with him in 2014 to 2016 just because I was in the US more and he was UK based.
Hmm.
And then when I needed surgery in 2016, he was at the games working with Team 𝗟𝗂 that podiumed. So he was helping me at the games. And when we found out I needed surgery, he was like, okay, now I coach CrossFit, not just movement. If you want to try and make it back after your surgery, I'd love to like help you back. So
Gotcha.
I started working back with him again in 2016 and have been with him since.
In 13, you said the mindset shifted from not just being on the podium, but to winning the whole thing. And you came back better than ever. How were you able, or what how were you better than you were before? If you could quantify it, whether it's a strength, power, endurance, skill, or whatnot.
Movement efficiency. I was never a good mover. I started CrossFit and qualified for the games in my first year, so everything was kind of rushed. All the movement, I had basic strict strength, but I wasn't a good mover in the lifts or the gymnastics. So the time where I couldn't train for the games or train for regionals, it was strip everything back and let's try and move better, move more efficiently. And so the athlete that you saw in 2011 to how I moved when I came back in 2013 was definitely the difference.
So when I talk to folks, and I always teed it up with the homework I had you do, and thanks for doing that. I said we
I
listen.
forgot all about it until last night when you messaged.
Came in loud and clear. It was fine. So I try to move the needle on some folks, like whether it's their mindset or their nutrition or their training. And one of my coaches, Jeremy, was just talking the other day. He goes, I'm older than I was 2 years ago, and I'm still hitting personal records on some of these same WODs. Like, I'm not stronger. I'm not in better shape. I just have a little bit more knowledge and I move better. So you get rid of some of that friction from the inefficiencies. He goes, yeah, I'm getting better scores, and I don't have a better engine. I'm
Yeah.
not stronger, but you can still make a lot of improvements just by being more efficient. I had it in my notes that one of your coaches was it 𝗫𝗀𝗶𝗹, CrossFit Conjugate?
Yeah, so I came over to 2013. I started working with Shane. He started him and Laura were programming my powerlifting side, trying to get me stronger. And I was working with a guy called 𝗟𝗶𝗶𝗹 in Miami. He's a CrossFit soul. He worked on my Olympic lifting, and then I worked with a gymnastics coach called Sean Lind, who's in Canada. So the three of their brains kind of worked together to improve my strength, my ollie lifting, and my gymnastics. And then my endurance background, I would program on top of that kind of the endurance side of things.
I've worked with Shane a few times. He's done a number of seminars at my gym. I've been down to his place. I met them both when he and Laura were together. Very, very intelligent couple and on movements, but also just raw strength, movement efficiency, absolute strength, speed, endurance, and just learned a lot from that group. And we had Shane on the show, probably my first 10 episodes. When you're coordinating three different coaches, that could be messy or it could be great. So how did you balance that? How did that go?
They communicated together as well, which I think helped. So I originally was working with Shane, but in the end it was Laura. So Laura, Danny, and Sean all kind of piece stuff together. So there'd be set days where I'd be doing certain things. So I was never trying to do too much. It was kind of like a blend of everything.
Gotcha. And all the while, firefighter over in the UK, then a firefighter in the States?
So I took a sabbatical from firefighting in 2013. I actually worked my last night shift the night before the Open started. But then obviously winning the games in 2013 opened up a lot of opportunities for me. So I didn't go back. And then when I retired from individual competition in 22, I started firefighting here in the US.
Now, in retirement for some folks looks a little different than it does for Sam. In 23, she wins the age group.
Yeah, so there was kind of there wasn't an intention of competing that year. And then a few people were like, oh, go on, you should do, you're still fit. And funny you were saying about the guy you work with saying, I'm beating some of my scores and I'm definitely not fitter or stronger. Well, the deciding point to do the 2023 season was the first Open workout that they announced. and it was a repeat open workout that I won in, I think it might have been 2014, whatever they repeated it from. Uh, and I was like, I want to do that workout again. But I'd not been training to compete. I'd been training, I was still fit, but I'd not
Sure.
been doing that level of intensity. Uh, I beat my score, but I had to go far deeper into the pain cave than I'm pretty sure I went in 2014. And I think the only reason that I beat my score is, like you were saying, knowledge. I actually broke down the workout and knew paces to hold and kind of rep schemes to do uh, a lot better than I did like 10 years earlier. Because I definitely wasn't fitter. I definitely wasn't stronger.
This a little fun fact. My wife and I are remarried, and I have 3 kids, and she has 3 kids. And I have a Maddie, and she has a Maddie, and both are, humbly much more intelligent than I am. And they'll say something similar to what you just said. I didn't really study for the exam. I don't think I'm going to do very well. And then they say, well, I set the curve. I got an A. And Sam's like, well, I didn't really try. I wasn't really training very hard. Yeah, I won the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, then when I like qualified, I then started training for it and did take it
Sure,
seriously.
sure.
Uh, and luckily, the people that I work with in the fire department, they were really supportive. So I was able to get shift trades and stuff so that I could actually go and compete. And some of the people that I work with actually came along to watch. So it was pretty cool.
That is cool. So where do you train now?
So right now I still train a little bit of CrossFit, do a little bit of bodybuilding style stuff. I had knee surgery February last year,
Mhm.
and it's definitely taking a lot longer to kind of like come back from. So basically, I have no cartilage left on the outside of my knee, so I'm never gonna be what I was, but I'm now at the stage where I can do most movements and and I can do my job, which is the main thing.
The main thing. What about like plyometrics where you got to jump and land or catch weight, without much cartilage? Is there
Yeah, so I can in moderation. I don't do a lot of Olympic lifting and a lot of plyometrics. They're kind of just sprinkled in just because I still enjoy it. I mean, like I don't need to snatch now. I don't need to clean, but I
right?
enjoy them.
Sure.
Like, and that's one of the things why I loved CrossFit so much was because of the variety. I just have to be a lot more careful now with the amount of volume that I put in.
What I tell folks is that at any level, even if you're the weekend warrior and you're doing CrossFit comps locally or powerlifting or strongman or Highland Games, if you're training to compete in those events, usually on game day, right or wrong, you're going to push and do everything you can, like you said, pain cave or max out your, nervous system. And what I tell folks is that, competing is not healthy. Football, soccer, anything like that. You listen to your body some in training, but you're trying to win ultimately. So then you do a lot of things that are way beyond being healthy, right? There's no reason why people should be overhead squatting 2 times their body weight, right?
Yeah.
But it happens when you compete, and that is absolutely okay. But you have to make peace with that mindset that hey, I'm competing, so now we got to do some things you wouldn't normally do. One of the questions I had was when you had different injuries, and like you said before, you think it's the worst thing in the world. Usually after that, is there some kind of fear creeping in people's minds where can I get back? Can I get back and be better than I was? Can my knee or my elbow or my shoulder or my herniated disc recover? Can I do things? There's a lot of can and a lot of doubt. So I'm wondering, did fear creep in those during those times? And if so, what was the process for handling that?
Yeah, I think you're always going to have those doubts and the little voice in the back of your head. Uh, but it's kind of like it's learning to rewrite the narrative. Obviously, well, if you've had surgery or you're like limited by what you can do at the time, it's instead of thinking about what you can't do, what can you still do? And it's like focusing on those like other areas. Because there's always something to work on. There's always something that you can improve on. And then instead of comparing yourself to how you used to be, it's like, okay, who is this new person that I can become? Obviously, the older I got after having the shoulder surgery and then the elbow surgery, I came back just as strong from the shoulder surgery. The elbow surgery, I was told he had to make the tendon so tight that I'll never have the same range in that arm. So my upper body strength and like limitations that I'll have in the overhead position, it physically won't be the same. So me coming back as an athlete, I'm like, okay, I was never the strongest athlete anyway. I'm not going to be able to get back to the same strength I was, but looking at the competitions and where the points lie, it's like, okay, I was never doing well in the strength workouts anyway. Let's look at the other workouts. Where can I start picking up some points there? What can I change? Where can I improve other areas? So there was things like swimming. I was a good non-swimmer swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's start working with a coach. Let's take my 12th, 13th position and make it a 7th or an 8th. I'm never going to be as good as the Aussies who have swum all their lives, but it's like, okay, let's see if I can pick up some more points there. Let's look at the gymnastics. Where can I get more efficient? And so instead of like dwelling on the fact that, okay, I'm never going to be as strong as I was, it's like, okay, we accept that, but I can find other areas to improve on. So let's start working with a nutrition coach. Let's see if we can dial that in a little bit more. Let's see if that helps some numbers elsewhere. Let's really dial in on the sleep, so the recovery. Let's see if that improves numbers elsewhere, and trying to get the little 1% elsewhere to make up for what I now cannot do.
Well, there's so many good lessons there. One of our core values is Kaizen, which means constant improvement. And I've seen people with injuries, like you said. We had like one lady was in a car accident and she broke her arm, but she's like, "Well, I probably can't come to the gym." I said, "If we cut your arm off, you could still come to the gym and we could train you, you know." And she goes, "Oh, okay." So when you wrap your head around that and your focus goes off the injury, then onto the new target, then your energy goes from the negative on the injury to the new positive. I have a new target. So mindset wise, you're going to start even feeling a little bit better. Taking those other areas that aren't even lifting, like you said, nutrition or recovery, even you can learn a little bit about those things, or you can breathing or meditation, learn how to calm yourself down during stress, right? So there's other ways that you, just like you pointed out. So I absolutely love that. It's that I'm going to fight all the way to the end to make the best version of myself. And if something's taken away, all right, well, I just won't work in that area. I'll just work on the other areas. And I think that mindset leads to longevity. It leads to better relationships because you keep working at them. Leads to better work, a culture at work because you're always going to be, striving. I absolutely love that. So hopefully everyone you're around, you just keep telling them the same thing.
Yep.
So even though you're not competing very much, I know you competed down at Mimi's place at the Donor Games, right?
I
And
did.
she's a great lady. If you guys don't know or haven't listened to the episode 44 with Mimi, awesome lady. Her mother was very ill, and Mimi stepped up and donated a kidney. Ultimately, you don't necessarily. She wasn't a good match with her mother, but she donated to someone else, and a third party donated to her mother and saved her life. Now she champions that cause, and the Donor Games helps raise a lot of money in that area. Sam, you're generous enough to compete in the local event. How was that?
So going back to what you were saying about you do things and you push yourself more in competition than you do in training. So I've not competed for over 2 years.
Oh, goodness.
I did that competition and I had DOMS and couldn't walk for nearly 4 days.
Oh, no.
I was talking to people, and obviously I'm used to competing at the games where it's over like 3 or 4 days, and people were like, "Oh, like, how many days was it?" I was like, "It was one morning. It wasn't
Right?
even. It didn't. It wasn't even a full day of competing.
No.
It wasn't multiple days. I did one morning of competition and couldn't walk for 4 days."
Well, Mimi's pretty efficient, so you go from one WOD to the next rather quickly without much downtime.
Yeah, I think the workout that got me, you had to do 30 calories on the assault bike straight into 50 thrusters. And I think it was just the speed and dynamic nature of the thrusters, because I don't do a lot of like dynamic squatting just for the knee. But it was light enough that I could do it and I could push. And then, so that was a separate squad event, which then went straight into a ladder of pull-ups and box jumps. And I went to do my first box jump, and both VMOs just like cramped up. I was like,
Oh no,
this is not a good start.
this is real. Oh man. I gotta believe that when you said that, I keep coming back to reference, you said pain cave in and you could suffer longer than other folks. No one typically gets to that mindset or that ability to work within that nervous system right off the bat at a young age. Some kids like they'll square their jaw and they'll like, hey, I'm just doing this because they're really, stubborn, which is great. But there has to be a willingness to test your nervous system and then realize you can function even though it's damaged and then continue. Talk about to those folks that there is a process to developing that pain tolerance and handling it.
I think it's an adaptation over time. And if you don't train it, then you're going to be afraid of it. It's one of those things, the more often you go and tap into that pain cave, even if you don't go fully in, like I'm like terrible in training for going deep in the pain cave. I can access more of that cave when competition than I can in training. Whereas an athlete who I train with from Ireland, 𝗏𝗲𝗃𝗀, she can enter the pain cave in training all the time and like end herself in training, and I'm just like looking, I'm like, it's not worth it.
Right?
I'll save it for when it counts. But you do have to like tap into it. That you do have to do things where you know it's going to hurt, so that you're not afraid of it then in competition.
It makes it more real because usually the fears build up things in your head that aren't necessarily real. So if you tap into it in a training session, then you're like, okay, you don't have to go all the way and like bleeding out your eyeballs. We had a strength athlete on, 𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗹. He's a pro strongman, and he would say that he would specifically train his nervous system he would wave it about every 3.5 weeks. He would do something that blew it out, like a heavy deadlift for a lot of reps, and then he would strap up and keep going. So now his nervous system is ruined, and then he would figure out how to do some kind of carry event.
Right.
So you can still keep moving, and he would wave it incrementally, not go from 0 to 100, but maybe 0 to 10, and then from 10 to 20 and 20 to 25. But you're right. If you do things a little bit at a time, it makes it a lot more palatable and easy to build on it. What about in the fire department, right? Sometimes you gotta be in a life and death situation, or you get to have, you could be in pain and from not having much sleep, but you got to carry a heavy person down a ladder, or there's things that are going on. Does it help there too for you?
Yeah, so I don't know. Obviously, I was a firefighter before a CrossFitter, so I don't know if that mindset I had as a firefighter, which then helped me become a good CrossFit athlete. Because you have to be able to shut off the noise. You can't be thinking about the burning building. You can't be thinking of everything else that's going on. You can't be thinking if you're tired. You just literally have to put the blinkers on and concentrate on the job in hand. And so that then transfers over into CrossFit, where you can't be thinking of other people. You can't be thinking, if you're doing a chipper, of the last few movements. You just have to be concentrating on what you're doing now and chipping through.
In the mindset homework I gave it, that's one of the things you noted. You need to silence the noise. And it's a little different when you're at the games and there's a big crowd and they're all yelling, right? And they're having a good time, and some are drinking and having a good time, right? So it gets pretty wild. You ever get caught up with, oh, I'm going against this person next to me, and you quit metaphorically running your own race. You're like, well, this person beat me last time. You're like change gears, or are you always able to stay really disciplined? Because, personally, sometimes I can stay disciplined, but other times, honestly, feelings would take over, and then I'll make some bad choices, whether it's in the gym or outside.
Yeah. So it happened. There's like one big time. Mainly, I've always run my own race. I know my capability. I know when I can push and when I need to hold back. And it was actually in 2013, and it was the legless rope climb workout. I love rope climbs. I love legless rope climbs. Was in my heat was 𝗟𝗲𝗶𝗶. I know she loves rope climbs, and I know she's good at rope climbs. I could hear the announcer playing us against each other, and we both raced each other. We both failed our 7th legless rope climb, and neither of us progressed. So that was a workout that we should have taken 1 or 2. Wouldn't have mattered which order, but we didn't even finish the workout.
No.
Luckily for me, I still won the games that year. For 𝗟𝗲𝗃, she placed 4th. So that could have been the difference of her being 2nd or 3rd. And so that was a huge wake-up call for me. I was like, okay, don't listen to the announcers and carry on running your own race.
Did you talk to her at all about that afterwards?
Yeah, so we went to Australia to do a team event later on that year, and we did a redemption workout against each other, which had rowing intervals and an obscene number of legless rope climbs.
So a pull followed by a pull. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's rough. One of the things you talked about with teammates, and I like the guys at Westside or Shane Sweat, they'll say, you're only as strong as your weakest length, or if you walk with the lame, you'll develop a limp, is another one of their phrases. You pointed out that being able to laugh with your teammates helps bring everyone together a little bit better, whether it's at work or in the gym, and helps improve results. Talk about that a little bit.
I like to have fun, and I like to make, obviously when it's game time, the focus is 100% there, but I like to keep things lighthearted and just have fun, make it a fun training environment. And with that, I think it worked well because I've trained with a lot of different athletes and had some really good relationships, which have turned into amazing friendships from who should have been my competitors, but we've ended up great friends and great training buddies.
How do you keep it fun per se?
Just trying to stay lighthearted. I was just watching my dog because I've got a lamp on to light it up, and he's adjusting himself in his bed, and I was like, please don't knock the lamp over. Please don't knock it over. Yeah, I just don't take things seriously. Try and I like to make I'm British. We make fun of each other. That's how we let people know that we like them.
Yeah, right.
And so there's a lot of banter, a lot of making fun of each other.
There goes the lamp.
That was the puppy disturbed from her sleep because the older dog tried to get in her bed.
That puppy sounds a little more mature than came across as a puppy.
She's about 6 months. We've had her for a month now. So
What kind of dog is it?
she's a little rescue. We were told that she's a 𝗟𝗶𝗶 mix, but we've then been told that she looks like a mountain cur.
Okay, gotcha.
So a little bit of hound in her. And the older one that's barking now, just to disturb us. He's like a pity lab boxer mix. And then I've got American Staffy, he's been the angel boy. He's just sitting quietly, not disturbing anybody.
So some bigger dogs though.
Yeah, they will all be pretty big. She's only small at the moment, but she's growing loads. She's like sprouting.
Mm. The other thing I noted here, you said not being afraid to eat enough to fuel for performance. And I know a lot of folks struggle with that, regardless of sport. My son plays football, and he always believed that if he put on more weight, he would be slower. And I said it's absolutely true at some point, but it's still a game of mass and power. So what we need to do is build you up to be as strong as powerful as possible. And once that starts diminishing, then the weight probably needs to stop right there.
Yeah.
But he fought me for the longest time. He was 205 pounds, and then he started believing it and did much better. And as he went to 225, he was actually faster. But whether it's male or female or body image or athlete, a lot of folks struggle with putting in the calories, and then they're wondering why their progress is so very slow. Talk about that realization, how you had to change things, and what that really looks like for a competitive athlete in terms of volume, calories, protein, creatine, etc.
Yeah, I think a lot of the media and the world we live in is kind of like, oh, skinny is better, like thin is best. You don't want too much muscle, you don't want to be too big. So it's hard to, if that's all you see and that's kind of ingrained in you, to then learning that, okay, like I don't need to eat these calories that have been put down as a woman shouldn't eat more than 2,000 calories. It's like, well, actually, if I'm training all these hours, I was like, I need to be doubling, tripling those calories. And so
Right.
it took a long time to kind of realize the impact of actually fueling correctly and the difference that you actually like feel, instead of struggling through training and feeling like the second session's a grind. And it's like by the end of the week after the volume, you're like, oh, I don't think I can go on. It's like, oh, actually, if I eat enough and I start taking intra-workout carbs, and
Right.
I'm like, wow, I actually felt good on the last workout of the week.
Could you pinpoint that and say, hey, it was this year I talked to a nutritionist, or I got a coach, or I started making some changes in my diet, and I know that, like, and you can notice that your numbers changed? Was that, or was it just over time you kind of figured it out, or it wasn't like any one year in specific?
Uh, I purposely tried to put on a little bit of weight in 2014 and 15, because I was doing a lot more lifting, and that's when my strength numbers went up. So in 2013, when I won the games, I was actually paleo. Like my only carbs came from eating sweet potatoes. I would have a lettuce wrapped burger and sweet potatoes. I'm like, I have no idea how, like looking back, how I eat now and how I fuel now. I was like, I have no idea how any of us got through 4 days of competing back then, because I would say probably 80-90% of the athletes were either zone diet or paleo, and it's like, wow.
Wow. What would you say now the ratio might be, if you could guess, for
Now,
athletes? Yeah. Or,
yeah, I would say I don't think any athletes would be paleo now. I would say all of the athletes work with a nutritionalist, and I see so many athletes taking intra workout
yeah,
carbs,
carbs. Yeah.
or doing the quick sugars and stuff while they're training.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey,
Carbs are
so
not the enemy.
they're not, no, it's the energy to help you keep going. I opened my gym in early 13, and that was a lot, during that time, uh, in the teens that year, or those years, a lot of Rob Wolf and the paleo diet, and it kind of took over the whole CrossFit community, and this is the way to go. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, so I'm trying it out, and I'm losing fat and all, but I'm like, really, just eat bacon all the time and burgers and stuff? Like, I don't know. And then in the strongman world, and I was never any kind of level that was, meaningful. It was always, local stuff. Like you lift a heavy weight for a workout, which is like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and you wreck your nervous system. And I'm like, really? You don't get any carbs at all? Like none? Like other than like you said, potatoes. And I'm like, I don't know. So I started talking to some other folks, and then I had some other nutrition coaches, and they said, well, just drink some Gatorade with some protein in it, have some carbs like that, or some simple sugar, or some fruit. So I was starting to try that, and it felt like almost like the lights came on in the gym that are a little bit brighter. I'm like, holy cow, I could see better. Like it was a whole different world for me, and I probably took it a little too far sometimes, and that's okay. But really did a lot better once I made some peace with that. You see some of the girls in the games now, they're a lot thicker than they
Yeah.
were, and I'm like, because my wife, she lives with us also, and she goes to the gym, and she's like, man, look at that girl's butt, look how much muscle there is there. I'm like, yeah, she moves weight. And so for some reason we've always like been impressed, and we kind of applaud it. Hey, nice job, way to put in the work and do those things. But I know society is a little different in how they portray things going forward. So not really competing unless Mimi drags you into an event, but you're still fighting fires and saving lives. What's a typical training week or month or cycle look like for you in terms of structure?
So I work 24 hours on, 48 hours off. So I follow that 3-day cycle with my training. So on shift, we have a gym on station. So I typically do upper body on shift, just in case we get like a huge fire or something like that. It's like I know my upper body can still do the work, but I don't want my legs fried if I've got to carry things. And obviously, with all my fire kit on, that's an extra 70 pounds that I'm having on top of me to like get through. So upper body, and then I'll do some kind of I normally do my knee leg rehab prehab type stuff, and then I do some kind of bike intervals. um, so the legs are still getting some work, but it's more either sprints or endurance work. Then coming off shift, that's my easy day, just because some nights we can be out all night, and so my sleep isn't ideal. So my easy day is just some active recovery, uh, cardio, go for a ruck, go hiking, kind of go out on the bike somewhere, whatever is kind of in the cycle. And then my full day off, I tend to do the leg day. So it could be going to the gym and doing leg machines, or it could be more functional fitness, depending on what that actual day is. But that's my big leg day. And then it goes round in a cycle like that. So the first 3 days will be like the heavy leg day, the next 3 days will be leg speed, and then it goes like that.
Gotcha. So you wave it like a conjugate approach where it's heavy and then speed, and you alternate. Gotcha. Um, how technical are the movements now? Because double unders is more technical than single unders. Overhead squat is more technical than front squat. Do you get very technical, or you keep things very basic and with your movements and the weight and things like that?
For the most, things are basic, and then so once or twice a week, I'll go to the local gym, Cornerstone Fitness, and I jump in the class. So that's when
Okay.
I get to do my fun. So whatever the class is, it could be I'm doing muscle ups, I could be doing overhead squats, I could be doing whatever the class programming is. I go in, I join the 10 a.m. class and just have fun and still do CrossFit. So if snatching's programmed for that day, then that's when my one time in 3 months that I'll snatch.
Gotcha. I see, so active all the time. What about like winter sports? Is that a piece of the puzzle also growing up? Or, in Ohio, it can be cold. I'm from Ohio.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I did ski and things like that. But when I started competing, it was one of those risk but versus benefit things. And now, after having the knee surgery, I'm like, skiing's probably not the best thing for me to do.
Right? The risk reward is not going to be there. one of my questions is kind of a fun one, at least from my perspective. You got to pick an event from the summer games and then also an event from the winter games and shove that into the CrossFit world. What would you pick?
Uh, Well, I always thought that the heptathlon was kind of like similar to CrossFit. You've got the different domains. I always thought it'd be really cool to take a heptathlete and make them do some CrossFit events, and take a CrossFit athlete and make them do a heptathlon, and kind of like see like
How to translate?
how they fared. So
Yeah.
we could shove that in. So that'd be a good one from the summer. The winter, we'll have so many CrossFitters have tried bobsled. So let's get them doing. Is it the luge where it's just a the skeleton?
Skeleton.
Yeah.
What,
Let's see how many dare to do the skeleton.
so one you're lying on your back, feet first. The other one is head first.
Right.
And right, yeah, she says, it's not that you get, it's a little, finger injury. It's like a neck or a concussion. You don't know your name for a week. It's real serious when things go badly there. So I like that. Also it's not as technical. You kind of just run really fast and a lot of power, and then can you steer it all? You do something like downhill moguls or downhill skiing or speed skating. That is so technical. I think people just be broken in half. Yeah. Still getting any swimming in?
I did do. I've not this year, which is
Okay.
bad. But I was doing quite a lot after the knee surgery, and then once I was able to do more stuff, I kind of like let it lapse a little bit.
I had a CrossFit question, and people, like people will debate right now, LeBron versus Michael Jordan. Who's better? So, who wins in their prime, Rich Froning or Matt Frazier?
Very different eras. I don't know. I think Rich started for the love of doing it, whereas Matt started for the money. And I always think like if you have an intrinsic motivator, like Rich loved competing and loved doing it for, like he believes heavily that God gave him those gifts. So I think that intrinsic motivator of winning to win and to have the prize uh, is a bigger motivator. So
We had Pat Ivy on. He is the director of sports performance and strength and conditioning at University of Louisville, mostly with football, but he has a PhD and he talks extensively about the extrinsic. It's like the people in the military, usually their main goal is to save their unit, accomplish the mission. They're looking to save their buddy. So that's why they'll jump on the grenade. So something beyond them. So whether it's you believe in Jesus or it's your family or it's your teammate, it's beyond you. So you'll push even further in those areas that are horrible. If it's just, hey man, I want this girl to watch me play basketball, or I want the money, or everyone's cheering on Friday night lights, that's a motivator too, and it's great. But you're right. Usually and for me, what I tell the athletes is try to find both.
yeah,
Try to
but
find
that's
both.
the thing. They're both super talented. So the only difference really between Rich and Matt was their motivator to compete.
Yeah, yep. So now you're just kind of it's the same with the argument with LeBron and Michael, right? You could say, well, different eras, different competitors, but now we're really just splitting hairs. When you win the games, if they played any song that you wanted, like you walk out and it's Sam Briggs's walkout song because she just won the whole thing. What song do you pick?
I don't know, but there is a funny story about walkout songs.
All right.
So it was when we were doing one of I think it was the first open announcement. So it was me versus Camille, and they were doing a big production, and they asked us for walkout songs. And so we're at the rehearsal earlier on in the day, just doing the walkthrough, getting ready for how we like come out for the evening. And so my song's playing, and I picked Prodigy, Smack My Bitch Up. and and Camille's singing, "Oh, take my picture, take my picture." And I was like, "No, Camille, that's not the
That's not.
words. It's smack my bitch up." And she went, "Oh," and then
Oh,
kind of like realized that I was choosing a song saying, "I'm coming to smack." my bitch up.
That's right. That's right. I wonder what song she picked.
I
Man,
can't remember now. But yeah, I just remember she got the words completely wrong, thinking it's a really nice song, and I was like, oh, that's not the words.
I'm a complete idiot with music like that. And there's a song that starts off, "Whoa, here she comes. Watch out, she'll chew you up."
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was, "Whoa, Michigan, watch out." You know, and people were looking at me. I'm like, "What, man? That's what I've been singing for years." I'm an absolute moron when it comes to that. Do you coach athletes?
I do not.
You do not.
I did for a little while. And then when I was transitioning to looking into retirement and thinking about going back into the fire service, I was like, there will be too much work trying to do all the study, and I didn't want to do something half-hearted.
Gotcha. Why firefighter?
Uh, if I hadn't have been successful in CrossFit, I would have still been firefighting in the UK. I love doing it. I think my dad was in the police force and my mum was a nurse, so it was kind of one of those natural things that I wanted to do something similar, but kind of carve my own path. So firefighter was like the perfect avenue for me to go down there, and I absolutely loved it in the UK. And so it just felt right to go back to it when I was retiring from competing.
Anything about the job in particular that speaks to you the most?
I just love the camaraderie that you have with the guys, just kind of like the work ethic, and like it. I think it does take a special kind of person to want to go into a fire, and it kind of is pretty cool. So
Episode 63, we had Tim Brown on, and he was in both uh, World Trade Center towers after they were hit on 9/11 as a firefighter, but he was out of them before they came down. He was in Tower 7 also, a much smaller tower as Tower 2 came down, which smashed Tower 2 obviously, and then also smashed Tower 7, and he was able to live. And lost over 100 of his buddies and colleagues. And you're right in that that seems to be a commonality, that here's something horrible going on, and it might not be a fire. It could be like electrical problem, a power line or whatever, or there's a car wreck and you have to open up the car. But people are running to disaster where there is risk, and you put yourself second, and someone you don't even know you put first and go in harm's way. So uh, that episode was an awesome one because he talks about how it all went down and then how he copes, you know, 2 decades later.
yeah,
Because a lot you guys see a lot of things, and my friends in the firefighter community or the policemen, they're so desensitized to things where like here's a problem here or here's a tragedy. They're like, yeah, that's the way it goes, But they keep always pushing. So it takes a special kind of breed. And you can still keep doing it for a while, right? You're still in good shape. You can still handle the job, so might as well
yeah,
keep going.
yeah, definitely.
Throughout your firefighting career, we ask athletes sometimes, what was your shit moment when guys go to the NFL or go into college? Did you have a kind of an oh shit moment in the fire when you became a firefighter?
As in, like, stuff could go wrong here, or
Where, you're like, oh man, what am I doing? This is for real. We're about to go in this burning building.
I think like the obviously the first like fire that you go in, you go through all your training. You're told to like stay low. The heat's going to be bad, and you put out the fires that they set for you. But then your first like real fire, we're going in, and it was like an apartment setting. So we're going up the stairs, and I'm stood up, and then all of a sudden I like feel, and I'm like, oh fuck, it is actually really hot in here. And I'm like dropped to the floor, like, oh, they didn't lie. Like it really is. You realize you're not invincible, and all like your protective clothing, you're like, oh, it is.
This is terrible. Yeah. So that's one of the things you'll have to learn once,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Uh, obviously Hollywood changes everything around. Are there any firefighter shows or movies you're like, all right, that seems kind of reasonable, or are they all just kind of ridiculous in your mind?
I think you do start to pick movies apart and shows apart. And so you have to, if you're going to watch stuff like that, you have to just watch it for the
That
value
reason.
of watching a show.
Gotcha. So my wife's by trade, she's a nurse, and so any kind of medical show, she's like, no, that's bullshit. No, that's not bullshit. I'm like, girl, like you're ruining the show here. She said, no, that's not right. That's not how they would do that. I'm like, oh my God, I don't care. My favorite one, well, I'm 50, so I grew up, 80s, and the movie Backdraft came out, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, those guys are so cool. And that one guy's got a girlfriend up on top of the fire truck, and they're always fighting fires. Like everything is super awesome. And I thought, man, this has got to be the way it is, man. This has got to be real. And I
They
talked to the
don't
fire.
even put the masks on. They
Yeah,
go
right.
into
There's no
the
mask.
fire.
Just running in there with no
And then
mask at
they
all.
take a little breath and then they're all good.
Right, right. And people like that's total bullshit, Jim. There's no chance. No chance.
There's so I work at the high school I work at. We have our fire alarms go off for particular reasons multiple times a month. And every time those fire alarms go off, the firefighters have to come out. They have to come out to the school, and a lot of times they got to do their walkthrough and everything, and some kid probably vaping in the bathroom or something like that, or
Yeah. Or
pulling the
they
fire
pull
alarm.
it just to get
Yeah,
out of a class.
they have to come out here, and it's every time it's like, man, that's what an interesting. I wonder if they're mad or what are they feeling because it's
I think most of the time, like for that, it's like fine. You do get some time wasters, and you do get people that call 911 all the time and like for no reason. And you sometimes it does get a little, but like for something like that where it's a school, it's like, well, we want to make sure it's okay because we'd rather make
yeah.
sure it's okay than like something bad happen.
Yeah.
But 2 summers ago, I finished up my yard work. I'm sitting on the back porch and I'm drinking a whiskey and I have a cigar going. And my neighbor finished up, so he comes around through the front door and then through the house and then to my back porch. And just the day before, one of my daughters says when she walked in, she goes, "It smells kind of like gas in the front foyer." And I didn't smell it, but bear in mind I've had my nose broken so many times I really don't smell much very well at all. And so the next day when my neighbor came by, he walks through the door, comes out to the back porch, and goes, "Hey, I kind of smell gas up front." And I'm like, "Oh man," 'cause I'm smoking a cigar, right? Even worse on the back porch. So I'm like, I don't want to call 911. It's not an emergency, though. You got to call somebody. So I'm looking things up, looking the number up. Finally, I call 811. But that's, call before you dig, basically. So that didn't really work. And so I called a gas company. They're like, you need to call
Yeah.
911. And the fire department is maybe quarter mile down the road. And I'm like, I call 911 and they're like, 911, what's your emergency? My name's Jim Beebe. My address is this. This is not an emergency, but I think I smell gas.
Yeah.
And she says, well, that is an emergency. And I'm like, okay, it's not an emergency, lady. Please don't send all the trucks. She's like, well, we're sending the trucks. What's your address? And I confirmed it. And so then you hear it because it's only 400 meters away. And I'm like, oh, God. So I put out the cigar. They'll throw the whiskey behind my neck in the grass. My neighbor goes over to his front porch. He's crying. He's laughing so hard. Of course, he pulls out his phone. And here comes an engine. Here
Films
comes
it all.
here comes a ladder. You got the whole thing on his film. Then comes the ambulance or the little I don't know, the little truck. All three, and they're all geared up. And here comes the lieutenant. I'm like, Lieutenant, I'm sorry. I told the lady it's not an emergency. There could be some gas. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And this is not a big deal. He goes, no, you did the right thing. I'm like, oh, bullshit. So they start walking around with this little monitor, I don't know, looking for readings. And they go downstairs and sure enough, there was some gas leaking.
There you go.
And
It's
I
a
was
good job
like,
you put your cigar out.
no shit, right? I was like, good thing that was out because it could have blown something up. And I was like, oh God, right? So we had it fixed like the next day and it all worked out. So got lucky. When you're training or when you're training for like a PR, like something hard, what do you listen to? What's your go-to kind of music?
I typically listen to EDM, and if I'm like, especially if I'm say doing hard bike intervals or something like that, then I want something fast beat, and I just try and like keep my cadence and keep going with the fast music.
Nice. What's a bucket list adventure? Someplace you haven't been, but you might want to go and visit.
Machu Picchu.
Oh wow, climb all those steps.
Yeah.
That's a lot. You might want to prepare. You don't want those 4 days of DOMs,
No,
right?
no.
Favorite sports movie?
So I was thinking of a few different ones, and I kind of like went back to $1,000,000 Baby.
I was watching that in the basement when the year it came out. You know, it won a Best Picture. Clint Eastwood. That lady, the boxer. I can't remember her name, the actress. But if you know the movie, she's an outstanding boxer, and she comes from horrible life, turns everything around. When she falls and hits her head on the stool and breaks her neck,
Yeah.
like I'm sitting on the couch, leaning forward, and she's on the mat. I'm saying out loud, get up,
Yeah.
come on, get up, and she doesn't because she's paralyzed. Oh man,
But
that
you
movie
don't
is.
expect the ending at all. You think
No,
it's
you
going to
don't.
you think it's going to be a happy ending because of
Yeah,
everything that's like it's like
no, at the end, and I'm like, okay. So you try not to cry because it's so gut wrenching, and I'm like, you know what? That's an awesome movie. You felt a lot from it. Never watching it again. But it was not, but true, awesome movie. What's your favorite sport to watch?
So I did love the Olympics growing up, and like with the answer that I put for that was like the track and field. Just
Hmm.
think, especially when I was younger, growing up, there wasn't a lot of female role models in sports around, and so the track and field was the only like females that looked as if they worked out. They'd have some muscle, they'd have some definition, and you saw them like working hard. So I always loved and still do love watching the Olympics, but now like my mind's open to like all the different
All the different
like
sports.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote Denise Lewis as one of the people to look at and admire. What about Six Nations? You follow that quite a bit?
So I'll watch a little bit. I was they have the rugby sevens in Dubai, and that was actually really fun to go and watch. I was out in Dubai prepping for the fitness championships out there at the same time, so that was actually really fun to go and watch that.
Netflix has a really solid documentary the last couple of years about the Six Nations season. And for those that know, it's the different countries in Europe that play rugby. They all go against each other, smash the heck out of each other, and one team's the winner. So it's pretty awesome to watch. Do you have a book you could recommend?
Endure. Anybody who competes, even if they're not being an endurance athlete, he breaks down and uses real life examples of why the mind is the limiter, and it like looks into like what your body is actually capable of, um, and why the mind like puts the brake in so many different like areas.
A big piece. One of our core values is the word sisu, which means you never quit. And when I tell folks, it's not just don't quit when you're at the end of your rope, you're looking suicide or drug addiction or something like that. It's if you're running sprints, run through the line. Don't just quit at the end. If you're doing accessories and it's max reps helps add more stimulus, so you have more growth and adaptation. So don't quit there either. So you're right about that. Endure. I love that. The correlation, they do all these scientific studies on all these athletes, and there's a number of studies done on the Navy SEALs with Hell Week and who gets through it the best. And it wasn't that the prior swimmers, wrestlers that scored pretty well, people in lacrosse, or it wasn't the runners either. It was the ones that held a 4 minute mile, who ran the 4 minute mile with the best pace, because 4 miles is a long enough time duration where you're really in pain.
Right.
And if you run it at a really solid pace, you're in a lot of pain. And those that ran the 4 mile race at the highest threshold had the highest correlation of getting through a Hell Week. So I have not read that book, but my wife and I are huge readers. You can bet we'll be getting that one.
Yeah, it's quite a substantial book, and I've probably read it 3 or 4 times in
Oh
my
wow.
career, and used some of the like things and like stuff that he says in my training and competing.
Awesome. How about a superhero and a supervillain?
So I put Wolverine because I thought it'd be always cool to just be full of adamantium. and like
right?
regenerate. I'm like,
All the
okay,
time.
yeah.
That'd be super sweet. And plus the claws that come out.
Yeah, I mean, like, what better? It's just like the superpower. He's got everything.
Yeah, every time you're hurt, you come back from it. And then the villain you put the Joker.
Yeah, I thought like Heath Ledger did like such a awesome job with the Joker. Like that
You really,
that
you really,
character.
yeah. You just believe it's really him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite lift.
Back squat. I think I've that's my favorite right now because I've not been able to back squat just because I was compensating so much, and so I probably missed it the most.
Gotcha. Now, if you worked with Shane and Laura Sweat, I gotta imagine they probably had you box squat a number of
We
times.
did a lot of box squats, safety bar, banded, chains, everything.
All for the speed strength there. Favorite way to train.
So because I'm not naturally a strength athlete, I always try to do my like strength in a morning and then sweat cardio in a afternoon.
Beautiful. And you said if I give you a bunch of money, you keep doing what you're doing. Do you have a quote for us?
Yeah. So my quote was Michael Jordan, and it's some people want it to happen, some wish it would happen, others make it happen. And I think that runs true not just in sport. It's like if you want something in life or you wish something to come true, you're not going to get anything unless you actually take action and work towards what you want or what you're wishing for. You have to do something. The world is not going to give you everything on a plate.
Man, I don't think it gives you very much at all on a
No.
plate. So that's awesome. Where can people follow you or find you?
I'm on Instagram, biceps like Briggs.
Awesome, awesome, man. Glad that we were able to connect. Thank you for the gift and the generosity of your time and your willingness to help us out and spread the word on how to be better mentally and physically. So I really enjoyed it. For those that have questions for us or questions for Lucas or prior guests or suggest future guests, keep doing what you're doing. Email us at info@athlete-builder.com. Sam, thanks again for being on the show. Best of luck. Hopefully our paths will cross, and maybe you'll check in with Mimi again and keep at it. So really, thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
All right.